Welcome back to Unsolicited Feedback, the podcast where we cut through the noise, skip the corporate jargon, and get real about what actually drives results. Because let's be honest, hope is not a business strategy. I'm your host, Chuck Knabusch, the operations guy. After 40 plus years across the military, corporate America, and now entrepreneurship, I've seen what works, what breaks, and why leadership, planning, and execution are the great separators between average and exceptional results. Hey, as you're catching the replay, send your thoughts or challenges directly to me at chuck@13ten.com, chuck@13ten.com. As your time matters, let's jump straight into today's topic. How to design your operating system in one day, or a practical leadership workshop model. Let me start by saying something kind of bold. You can redesign your operating system in just one day. Not implement it fully, but design it. Most leadership teams think operating systems require months of consultants, binders, slides, task forces. They don't. What they require is clarity, discipline, and a structured conversation. I've watched organizations drift for years because they never sat down and designed how strategy, reporting, cadence, and incentives actually reinforce each other. And I've watched leadership teams create more clarity in 6 focused hours than they had in 6 previous quarters. So today I'm going to walk you through a practical single-day workshop model you can run with your leadership team to design your operating system. No fluff, no corporate theater, no let's align around values exercises, just structure. So what's the biggest problem? Leadership teams never step out of execution long enough to design execution. That's the problem. They live inside the machine. They don't step outside to design the machine. And here's the additional challenge. When they do gather, the conversation becomes philosophical instead of structural. They debate vision, culture, priorities, market conditions, but they never answer what is our single dominant objective. What metric truly reflect it, and what cadence enforces it, what incentives reinforce it. And without that, execution becomes reactive. You don't have an operating system, you have habits, and habits drift. So what's the biggest symptom? Here's what you're experiencing if you haven't designed your operating system intentionally. Strategy shifts, but behavior doesn't. Leaders interpret priorities differently. Meetings feel busy but inconclusive. Incentives create cross-functional tension. Surprises appear late. Quarter-end chaos feels pretty normal. And you hear things like, we're not aligned. Execution feels hard. We need better communication. No. You need structural clarity. McKinsey's research on organizational health shows companies with aligned management systems outperform peers significantly in productivity and financial returns. Alignment isn't emotional, it's engineered. And engineered requires design time. So what do most people try and do? When leaders sense drift, they rewrite the strategy deck, add more KPIs, schedule more meetings, hire a consultant to improve culture, refresh core values. None of that redesigns the operating system. It tweaks components. It doesn't integrate them. It's like adjusting tires when the transition is misaligned. Without structural integration, strategy lives in slides. Reporting becomes noise. Cadence becomes ritual. Incentives become contradictory. And friction remains. So why does this solution rarely work? Because execution failure is not usually a motivation issue. It's a system design issue. Peter Drucker famously said, structure determines behavior. If your structure sends mixed signals, behavior fragments. If your structure reinforces one direction, behavior stabilizes. And here's a counterintuitive insight. You don't need more discipline. You need less contradiction. When reporting, cadence, and incentives contradict strategy, leaders are forced to choose which signal to follow. They're going to follow incentives every time, every single time. So let's stop tweaking components and design the system. So what's one thing you can do to move the needle? Well, here it is. Run a single-day operating system design workshop with your leadership team. Not to brainstorm, to architect. I'm going to give you the exact structure. You can run this in 6 to 7 focused hours. No phones, no laptops, whiteboards only. The one-day operating system design workshop, morning session. Strategic clarity, 2 hours. Step 1, define the single dominant objective. Ask the team, if we could only win at one thing over the next 12 to 18 months, what would it be? You're going to get debate. That's good. Force convergence. Not compromise, convergence. One statement, one sentence, clear and measurable. Some examples. Expand gross margin by 4 points while maintaining service reliability. Stabilize cash flow and reduce debt leverage. Increase capacity without adding fixed costs. No secondary objective in this step. You cannot design vertically without a clear top. Step 2, identify 5 to 7 enterprise metrics that truly reflect that objective. Not department metrics, enterprise drivers. If margin is the objective, gross margin trend, discount percentage, overtime ratio, scrap rate, on-time delivery, backlog stability. However, if cash is the objective, cash conversion cycle, inventory turns, accounts receiving aging, operating margin, capital expenditure discipline, limited to 5 to 7, no more than 7. More creates dilution. Less creates blindness. In your midday session, you're going to focus on reporting and cadence design. Probably another 2 hours. Now we begin to build downward. Step 3, design the reporting spine. Sit-rep format. Ask, how will each leader report movement on these 5 to 7 metrics weekly? Design the exact structure. Objective, results, status, top risk, actions, decisions required. 3-minute max per leader. Discussion only triggered by red status, enterprise risk, or a decision required. Codify it. No interpretation allowed. Make it clear. Step 4, define the cadence layers. Daily, what frontline metrics must be reviewed daily. Weekly, what functional metrics must be reviewed weekly. Monthly, what enterprise metrics must be reviewed monthly. And finally, quarterly, what strategic adjustments occur. This creates a rhythm. Rhythm reduces the cognitive load. And Daniel Kahneman's research shows decision quality degrades with overload. Cadence reduces overload by structuring inspection. Then the afternoon session, incentives and integration, maybe 2 to 3 hours. Here comes the hard part. Step 5, audit incentive contradictions. Ask openly, where do our incentive plans contradict our stated objective? Be honest. Sales revenue, only bonuses, cost only operational targets, siloed KPIs. List the contradictions. No defensiveness, just facts. Step 6, design incentive alignment. Shift incentive weighting. 40 to 60% should be tied to the primary enterprise objective. 20 to 30% tied to leading indicators surfaced in reporting. 20 to 30% tied to enterprise-wide performance metrics. Create a cross-functional multiplier. If enterprise margin or cash suffers, everyone feels it. Alignment becomes economic, not emotional. Charlie Munger's lesson applies again. Incentives shape behavior faster than speeches ever will. So, step 7, define red rules. Establish these as non-negotiables. Red status is not penalized. Hidden red is penalized. Early escalation is rewarded. Cross-functional obstruction is unacceptable. Without psychological safety, reporting collapses. Without consequence, integrity fades. So what happens after this day? You won't leave with perfection. We understand that. You will leave with clarity. And clarity reduces friction immediately. Within 30 days, what you should see are shorter meetings, cleaner reporting, earlier risk escalation, less cross-functional attention, fewer surprises. But then within 90 days, more predictable performance, reduced hero culture, stabilized execution. Because systems create momentum. Yeah, you're going to face some challenges. You're going to feel some discomfort. Leaders who benefit from siloed incentives, they're going to resist. Those who are comfortable with ambiguity will resist the clarity. And those attached to complexity are going to resist the simplification. That's normal. But here's the counterintuitive truth. Complexity feels sophisticated. Simplicity feels exposed. But simplicity scales. Complexity collapses. So here's a final thought. You don't need a 12-month transformation initiative. You need a day of disciplined design. Step outside the machine. Design the machine. Start with one objective. Build reporting around it. Install cadence. Align incentives. Remove contradictions. Because when structure reinforces itself vertically, execution stops being heroic. It becomes predictable. And predictability is power. Until then, step outside the machine, design the machine, and build execution that doesn't rely on hope. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Unsolicited Feedback. Thanks for joining me. Apply something from today's conversation, because results don't show up from just listening. They show up because you did something. Even one small action this week will move the needle farther than a month of good intentions. If you want to go deeper, scan the QR code or schedule a 30-minute strategy chat. I'd love to hear how you're using planning, leadership, and execution to make sure hope never becomes your business strategy. Drop a comment and like the episode. I'm Chuck Knabusch. Until next time, stay focused, stay disciplined, and don't you dare rely on hope.